Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 4 of Disney/Marvel's Loki, entitled The Nexus Event. Nexus Event, pretty straightforward episode title. We have the Nexus Event that supposedly was triggered by Loki and Sylvie that aided the TVA in finding them on Lamentis. We don't know what that event is technically in the technical sense, but I don't know. I assumed it was them two falling in love or something like that, which actually facilitated one of my favorite scenes of the episode when Mobius is giving Loki shit for falling in love with himself, like the ultimate narcissist. It's so Loki, like, oh, he fell in love with you, didn't you? That's that was incredible. I didn't see that coming, but that was a great scene. But yeah, this was a really good episode. Lots of laughs. We got a whole lot of information this week. We had a really cool fight scene, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So yeah, a whole lot to like here. So I'm going to start from some of the few things that I liked about this episode. So like I mentioned at the top, we got a lot of revelations. Mobius, well, everyone, well, not everyone, but Mobius, Hunter B-15, they all found out about their true nature, the fact that they're variants and that they had real lives. Mobius found out, Loki told him at first, he didn't believe him, and Mobius found out via a nice little scene where he swaps TemPads with Ravonna, and then he looks through it and sees that C20 was deceased, and then sees a video of her essentially saying like, hey, all those things that I was shown by Sylvie when I was under her power, this was all real. Like, and that explains that it's real stuff. And we see Ravonna come into the frame at the end of this video, and then it cuts off. So we're here to presume essentially that Ravonna had her killed to prevent the truth from getting out. Hunter B-15 found kind of in a similar way, I believe she overheard Loki telling Mobius about this. It was kind of a strange cut, but I think like after that scene, it cuts to her standing out in the hallway. So I don't know if I'm assuming she heard that, and that's what prompted her to have Sylvie take her to the Nexus event that was in by Roxcart. And Sylvie shows her everything that happened with her real life, which I found interesting that we don't get to see it. I wonder why that is. I'm wondering if that's going to come around later, the fact that we didn't see what Hunter B-15's previous life looked like. I wonder if it's going to tie in maybe to another character in the MCU, because that seems like a strange decision to not show that. Like that stood out to me, especially when we've seen, we saw how Sylvie manipulated C20, so why couldn't we see what was going on in B-15's head when Sylvie was showing her? So curious about that. But well, again, lots of information. I think that we can kind of now confirm that, something that I talked about on previous episodes, the idea that Mobius' past life is what's tied to this jet ski, and that maybe the jet ski isn't just a thing like a dream that this TVA agent has, that it's something that's tied to his actual real past. And then furthermore, I think that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in that same scene, he picks up this pen and looks at it, and it was still blue, and I don't know if it's the same FDR pen from, I think it was episode 1 or 2. It probably is, but it makes me wonder if that FDR high school pencil or pen is also from Mobius's past, or maybe it's from Ravonna's. Like, we don't know where Ravonna was. Like, wait a minute. I just had a thought. The opening sequence, we see Sylvie's past. We see Sylvie apparently being apprehended before creating some sort of Nexus event. And we see that at that time, Ravonna is a TVA agent that is taking Sylvie to meet with the timekeepers or in front of a judge, just like we saw Loki having done to him in the first episode. How come Ravonna looked exactly the same, even though Sylvie was a child? Wonder why that is. Maybe that pen, the FDR pen, is from Ravonna's previous life, and maybe she is a variant as well and doesn't know it. Could be. I think that there's. I'll get to like a little bit of theorizing at the end, but that one just kind of popped into my head, and now I'm like, huh? Because I was gonna say like maybe it's Ravonna's pencil from a previous life. Then I was like, wait a minute. Why wasn't she younger when we see her apprehend Sylvie? So But I mean, I guess maybe, you know, a TVA agent doesn't necessarily need to age. You know, that could be the case. Like, it could just be like, yeah, maybe that's not a thing where it's just like where at whatever point they remove you from your timeline and make you a TVA agent, you maybe, since you're outside of time, you probably just stay that age. So yeah, I'll take that back as a theory, but I still reserve the right to say that I was right if that does end up being the case. But yeah, I think it's probably just the fact that they stay that age once they're outside of time, working with the TVA. It kind of defeats the purpose of pulling these people out if they could essentially just die on you of old age. And it's like, we're outside of time. Like, what's the point of you? But so yeah, I mentioned the FDR pencil. Another thing I liked was on Lamentis, right before the TVA comes to retrieve Loki and Sylvie, there's a really nice shot of them just sitting on rocks staring at the impending doom. And it was a wonderful shot. And I really like the colors whenever they're on Lamentis, that kind of like purple bluish kind of thing they got going on. I think it reminds me of the One Mic logo and shit. So like, of course it's going to be ideal to me. But I chose those colors with intention. I like blue is my favorite color, but I love purple and blue like interacting. Like, I feel like it's a very I don't know. It almost feels like a futuristic combination of colors. Like, you put anything in purple and blue, it's gonna look like it's from the future. I don't know. I'm just talking. So I also really liked how I was right about the timekeepers not being real. I like everything. I like anything that proves me right. I enjoy it. So I said the whole time that, like, what if the timekeepers aren't real and it's some Wizard of Oz shit where it's like, don't look at the man behind the curtain and there's somebody else in charge and there are no timekeepers. Sure enough, there are no timekeepers. They're just robots. They're figureheads. Like, so who's really running shit? It's clearly not Ravonna. So who's really running shit? My guess is Kang the Conqueror, who we already know. Well, I already know, and some of you may already know if you keep up with the news, has already been cast. He's going to be played by Jonathan Majors, who another character from Lovecraft Country, and he will be in, I believe, the next Ant-Man movie, or at least he's been cast in the next Ant-Man movie. It doesn't feel right to me that he would be the big bad of that movie. I feel like maybe he'll just make an appearance at some point, or maybe he'll just, it'll be like probably more like a cameo as opposed to him like being in it. But we'll see. But yeah, I think that was pretty cool to get that confirmation. And I thought that was the other thing that I liked about that episode, or that scene, I should say, is that really cool fight scene that happened right before we found out that they were robots. So like that fight scene kind of reminded me of the fight scene from episode 8 of Star Wars, where it's Kylo Ren and Rey were fighting Snoke's I don't know, whatever the fuck you call it. Like, were they stormtroopers, the ones that look like like they walked off of like Alice in Wonderland playing cards or some shit? Like but whatever that was, I really enjoyed that fight scene. I thought that was really cool. And then how it ended with them finding out that the timekeepers weren't real, I thought that was really cool too. So lots of cool stuff in this episode. There was nothing I didn't like. I found it incredibly enjoyable. It was a really easy watch, really fun, very informative. As I say every week, it looked amazing. I love the look of it, like the retrofuturism. I like the purple bluish kind of thing they got going on Lamentis. It feels like it's from like a comic book or something, which it's obviously these are all comic book films and television shows and properties, and of course we want them to, I guess, kind of feel like a comic book. But like that scene, Lamentis really feels like a comic book, kind of like what was the planet that well, man, I'm drawing because the name, I know the name, but it's sticking with me. But the planet from Infinity War that the Collector was on, that they go to look for the Reality Stone, and they get there and they think that Thanos doesn't have it yet, and then it turns out that he does. I can't remember the name of that planet, but what's the one where he says it and then Drax says that's a made up name? Man, it's killing me. I can't remember the name of that planet, but it kind of reminded me of that. Just like that one was more of like obviously a little bit more red, whereas this one was a little bit more purple and blue. But yeah, really good stuff in this episode. And then I had a couple of thoughts that things that I noticed that I thought were worth noting. So Mobius mentioned this other agent again, and I've mentioned this several times, and I've thought like, what I hypothesized, what if this other agent was another version of Mobius? And then when we found out there were variants, I'm like, could Could there be multiple Mobiuses? Could this be, it could be anything, right? And now I'm starting to wonder if maybe because he seems settled that there is no other agent and that he's actually her favorite. But this has been brought up so many times at this point that I feel like there has to be another agent, and it has to be someone that we know, or not necessarily that we know, but like that's gonna be a big deal. Like, what if it is Kang the Conqueror, and he's the other agent, and he's the one running all of this. So I don't know. I found that interesting that we don't know who this is yet, and they're kind of trying to say like there is no other person, which just makes me feel even more strongly that there is. So that was pretty cool. The other thing that I want to talk about that I thought was funny was at the very beginning in Sylvie's flashback scene, right before the TVA or Ravonna comes to get her. She's playing with like a giant wolf toy and a boat with a dragon head on the bow, and I'm like. Like, it's her Nexus event that she created the Game of Thrones world. Like, that's so weird that there's a dragon boat and a wolf as the toys that she's playing with. I don't know if was just like, that can't be a coincidence. I feel like, I'm not saying that I think Game of Thrones is going to be tied to this, but I feel like maybe like whoever wrote it is a fan, and maybe there was like a bet, like I bet you can't slide a Game of Thrones reference into a Loki episode. Like, you can't just choose a dragon and a wolf and it's just a coincidence. Like, come on. But I thought that was pretty cool. And Loki seemingly is killed at the end. We also seemingly lose Mobius. And I wonder, well, actually, I'll get to what I wonder about after I talk about this scene. Loki's killed, theoretically. He's pruned, as the term is. But then in a mid-credit scene, which I hope you guys stuck around for, Loki wakes up somewhere else, and looks like a desolate city or town. It looks like it's in ruins. And he says something like, "Am I dead?" And we hear a voice say, "Not yet, unless you need to come with us," or something to that effect. And then we look, and it's several Loki variants. I dug into this a little bit. You have classic Loki wearing what we already know to be, well, some of us, the classic outfit that Loki wore in the comics. There's Kid Loki, pretty obvious which one that is. The black one is supposedly Boastful Loki. I don't know if that's a person or not, but he's holding like a hammer that looks similar to Mjolnir, but isn't. It makes me wonder that if in whatever timeline, this boastful Loki is boastful because he somehow has he's somehow good enough to pick up Thor's hammer, but maybe Thor's hammer just looks different in his reality. I don't know. And then there's like a crocodile or an alligator. I don't know the difference. With a Loki kind of tiara. I don't know what the fuck to call it. It's not a crown, but the shit that Loki wears on his head, like a smaller crocodile-sized version of that. But I thought that was interesting, and then it also makes me wonder if Loki can be pruned and seemingly disintegrated like that. Does that mean that everybody who's pruned is actually just somewhere else and not dead, including Mobius? Is there maybe like a setting on that to where you could choose whether or not it disintegrates someone or just sends them somewhere else? Is there, and if so, why would Ravonna do that? Like, would she change the setting because she wants to make sure that Loki stays alive for some reason? And then lastly, and this is how I want to close out the episode because I thought this was really cool. I don't know if I feel like everyone's not going to catch this. And maybe it's just me reading too much into everything because I do kind of inspect this show with a fine-tooth comb for the most part. But in that scene, when she disintegrates him, he's clearly about to, at least to me, confess his love for himself. Confess his love for Sylvie to her. He grabs her by the shoulders, and then we see his chest light up, and then he starts to disintegrate from this inner circle of where the whatever that thing is that they used to do that, where it penetrated him. And it looked just like the scene where Loki does that to Agent Coulson in the first Avengers movie. And I wonder if that had to have been intentional. I can't believe that can't be a coincidence. That has to have been done on purpose. But and Agent Coulson ended up being alive, and in where was he at, Tijuana or some shit, where they brought him back to life. Something started with a T. and now Loki is alive somewhere else, supposedly. So, really interesting things to look forward to in the final 2 episodes. I'm interested to find out Ravona's situation. I feel like there's something else up with her that we don't know yet. Interested to find out who's behind all of this, if not these timekeepers. But like I said, I had already resigned myself to feeling like the timekeepers weren't real. So I'm not too surprised by that, but I am curious now who is in charge, because I don't think it's Ravonna. I feel like Ravona's still a puppet. I don't even think Ravonna knew that the timekeepers weren't real, if I'm being honest. I think Ravonna thought they were real too. So maybe that could be a motivation for why she might not have killed Loki with that thing and maybe just sent him somewhere else. So I don't know, but lots of good stuff to look forward to next week. Really great episode. This might be my favorite episode of the season. It's between this one and the first one, which I thought the first one was just really, really good and a great way to open the season. But yeah, really great episode. And I will see you guys next week for episode 5. And I will see you guys on Monday for the deep dive with Axel and Delvin. Should be a good one. All right, see you guys then. Peace.